Hi, I'm Ada.
I'm Daryl.
I'm Susan Liverpool.
Susan is our guest today. Welcome to our channel, The Turner's Flip Side. So today we want to get a little serious, have a bit of a serious conversation. We want to talk a little bit about, what's been going on since we moved here. We moved here in 2022, in May of 2022. Now Susan has just recently relocated. And so first of all, let's talk a little bit about why you decided to relocate, Susan. And just keep it real.
I'm going to keep it real.
We like our audience. We want them to know the truth.
The truth is, you forced me to move here.
Oh, no, you didn't.
No, that's not exactly the truth. Ada invited me to come visit in 2022. And so I got a ticket and I came in September of 2023. Last year.
Right.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
to visit. And I stayed for 2 weeks. And I really enjoyed myself. I enjoyed the climate. I enjoyed the people. Ada and Daryl introduced me to their community. We went to this art festival where Daryl displayed a lot of his photographs. And I just really loved that day. And I thought, wow, nice art community. I think I would love it here.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, you didn't just decide to move. I mean, there were some things happening back in the States. Now, we moved here from Atlanta, Georgia, and Susan lived in Atlanta as well. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, we did some work together. Susan is a writer. She's written a couple of children's books, and we collaborated, a group of us, to create a movie that you've probably seen. And if you haven't, it's called The Lion and the Porcupine. It's really cute, and actually, we won some accolades and awards for that piece. So that's another video, and you can, look for that, and so you can see what we did, how we did that movie, and what the outcome was.
You can go on YouTube and type in The Lion and the Porcupine, and it'll come up.
But for real, you were contemplating, if you're like us, we have always known that we weren't going to retire in the United States. Mm-hmm. For some of us, for obvious reasons, but also we just felt like we could have, a better quality. That's the word I'm thinking. A better quality of life, living anywhere else. I got tired of seeing my little black folks, little kids getting killed. I got tired of, every week there's a school shooting. I got tired of the disrespect that the black community has been shown for decades, and we just had to accept it. I just got tired of it, to be frank. And then,
honestly, you and I would talk from time to time, and you would always invite me to come, and you had your YouTube channel, and I saw the pictures, the videos that you all created, and I would think, oh, that looks beautiful, or that looks peaceful. But I would say, oh, maybe I'll come next year, maybe I'll come. But I was thinking to myself, Lake Chapala? Where is that? What is that all about? So finally, Ada said, look, all you need is a plane ticket. You can stay with us. So I said, okay, I'm coming.
Okay, so talk a little bit about, she said, Lake Chapala. What is that about? So who chose Lake Chapala, and why did we end up here, my dear?
Well, this is my third time moving out of the States or living outside the U.S. So I knew, like Ada said, I was always going to move outside the U.S. because it was always a pleasant experience for me. So I was looking around. Ada and I had talked about moving out. We have 9 grandchildren that live in the U.S. And so I figured that wherever we moved to, it needed to be reasonably accessible to the U.S. because at any moment we could be called back for some event or other. And so, I changed my possibility list based on that information.
Mm-hmm.
Because previously the world was our oyster. It could have been anywhere. It could have been Thailand.
Yeah, I was looking at France, but
Yeah.
then I decided
Anywhere. And
Italy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, well, this needs to be something that's going to be
Spain.
practical for us. And Ajijic popped up on my radar, actually, first. Ajijic is one of the 3 local towns that are on the lakeshore here. So I started looking into Ajijic, and I saw some videos by some other YouTubers, and they said, yeah, we like Ajijic, but we like some of the surrounding towns even better. Ajijic is pretty well loaded with people, I was going to say expats, but
Immigrants.
I was going to say immigrants from the U.S., which is really what it is.
Really.
Expats is a fancy name for immigrants
Okay.
from the U.S. and Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And we said, well, we don't want to be around too many people from the U.S. and Canada because there's no point in moving if we're just going to be right back into a community that's dominated by people from North America.
And let's say, okay, so you can stop there. So let's talk about that a bit because we don't want to seem like snobs or anything like that. But, there are some people that are just not nice. They're rude. They go to other countries. They forget that they're visitors, and they take that nasty, bad behavior with them wherever they go. And we know that I know that to be a fact because I've traveled all over. I've traveled to several other countries, and there's always this kind of conversation about us in the U.S., and it's not really us, but people who travel and just are unpleasant. They're just, they're either in much of a hurry and they, use, they're not respectful of other people's culture, their cultural habits. They just assume that, we're from the U.S. and we do everything right. So when we go somewhere else, that's what we expect, that rightness. Well, we know what that's about. So
We'll do another video on that.
but but I wanted to interject that in there is that when he said we don't want to be around that kind of attitude, that kind of privileged, like not so nice entitlement type of behavior. We just don't.
It's about that, but it's also about if you're going to learn a new culture, you need to immerse yourself in that culture.
Mm-hmm.
And there's cities around here where you can just never learn about Mexican culture. You can just live within the bubble where you have the same kind of lifestyle, same people, same community as you had in North America.
Mm-hmm.
And that defeats the purpose.
Yeah. And the other piece is that if you're going to move here and bring that with you, and you're not willing to embrace the culture and learn the language. Nobody says you have to be fluent, but if you're not willing to learn the language and embrace the culture, why are you here? And we already know, don't we? So that my attitude is like, if you don't like it, go back to where you came from. But if you're here, be respectful. And so that's a whole nother video, because there have been some things that in the short time that we've been here, there have been some things that we have seen that really adversely impact, the native culture. And that's not really what we're supposed to be here for. If anything, we want to support the culture, not come in here and tear it down and change it all up to meet our needs, and our desires and our requirements, So, like my husband said, that's a topic for another video. But the thing we wanted to do today is just kind of do a little comparison of the things that we have noticed that are different than when we were in the States. We want to look at a few costs. And of course, we've talked about the culture often. So, what do you think about the culture? What do you think about Mexican people here?
Mexican people, what I've found is that they're very kind. They're, I don't want to say, they're nice. What's the word I'm looking for?
They're very considerate,
Very polite.
very polite, very helpful. The majority of them.
And friendly.
And friendly. Very friendly.
Majority.
Yeah, it's hard to meet a stranger in Mexico, even if you're a stranger. They're just very willing to help. I mean, there have been a couple of times in the beginning where I fell off my bike, and you know what? A whole rush of people just came up to me. They were on the street or in their businesses, and they rush up to make sure, are you okay? To make sure I'm okay. And, what about the beauty, the colorfulness? I love, people complain about the music. But Daryl was looking at a comedian the other day, and that thing was, it was great. He was saying what? You don't have to say all the words.
He said he only eats at a Mexican restaurant if he knows there's Mexicans in the kitchen, and if there's no music playing on the radio, he knows it's not authentic.
That food is not authentic. That's right. It was hilarious. And he's right. You hear this music everywhere, and that's another thing that I love about this country. And there's another country I went to. I went to Jamaica one time, and you step off the plane and you hear this lovely Caribbean music, and it just brings joy to your heart. So I love that. Mm-hmm. So,
and I love the mountains. The mountains, it's like 360-degree view of mountains. The mountains look like they're covered in broccoli stalks. This wishy green, just lush green. And when you go outside the door, there's just mountains everywhere. Mountains. It's like we're in a bowl, and then the mountains.
A paradise. A paradise bowl, though. It's just gorgeous. There are flowers everywhere and all that. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we're talking about things that you probably already know. But we did want to do like a slight comparison, and we wanted to get a feeling for what it's like. Now we're, seniors, we're in our 70s, and this is our retirement haven. And don't get confused. We are immigrants in Mexico, and we are delighted to be here. It's a beautiful place, and we want to show you some of the things that work for us besides the beauty. We've been in various countries, and we've done some videos on those. We want to talk a little bit about the difference, the disparity in living expenses, because I know a lot of people after they retire, that's a huge concern. And even for apparently those retirees that they're not so concerned, they can bring their money and purchase homes and cars and things like that. It's still, a place that you can afford to live comfortably. We know people that have moved here before we moved. Things are getting a little bit more expensive, but could live off of $800 to $1,000 US a month. So these comparison figures is what we are always interested in showing people, so that they can get the gist of, you can live very beautifully here. And this is not the only place. We chose this place. We chose Mexico because it's easier to get back to our grandchildren. But at some point, we may move further away. We may be looking at Spain or Portugal. There's so many beautiful places in the world where the conflict is not so in your face. Yeah. Mm. So you have anything else to add?
No, I think you covered it pretty much. There are many places you can live outside of the U.S. On your retirement income that offer a quality of life that I would say is better than in the U.S.
Yeah,
I would agree.
And let's not, now we happen to be in the senior group, but let's not exclude, there are some young people here that just decided, they're courageous, they decide to be digital nomads, as they call it. They like to travel around, and they are thriving. They work online, and they're doing very well. We've had some families to move here with their children and actually put their children in school here, and the kids learn the language and all that. So there's so many opportunities to expand your horizons and not just be confined to a country that maybe doesn't necessarily respect you or want you there. Even though I'm Native American, so my people were there first. I always like to get that little dig in. But other than that, anything else we can talk about, like the food here? Oh, Susan, let us not forget that a lot of people come here for their health and well-being, right?
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, I knew I wanted to come. I like the food, and I felt that I would be healthier and lose weight if I moved here.
mm-hmm.
I sold my car, and I actually am using less of my retirement money, and I'm living completely off of my Social Security.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. The other thing is that it's interesting that you knew when you came to visit, you knew, and then you went back and packed up and came on. And I think that attitude in itself, when you put it out that you are ready to transition or make a change, then the universe just aligns with you and you're able to sell everything. That's kind of what happened to us, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me. My friends supported me. Things just fell into place after I got the visa. That was
That's a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that now and how that's looking now.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize what the process is to obtain residency in another country. And the process begins, they talk about this big immigration issue in the news, but people don't realize that the issue around immigration in the U.S. is the same everywhere. And the process is, before you go to a country to reside as a resident, you have to go to an embassy for that country in your home country. So for us, that meant going to the Mexican embassy, or consulate, I should probably say, in the U.S. You go there with your passport, and there are going to be several supporting documents you need to present because you have to show them that you are capable of supporting yourself financially. And so they'll have a list of documents you need to provide. You go there, you give them your documents, they review the documents, and if those documents meet the requirements that they will give you, then you're given a visa, temporary residency permit, is what it's called here in Mexico, that allows you to stay in the country for as long as you want, basically, but you have to renew that on an annual basis. You can get a permanent residency permit, so the requirements for that are different than the temporary residency permit, but you have to go through this paperwork first. You can't just show up on the border, which is what the issue is in the U.S., people just showing up on the border. You can't just show up in Mexico. You can't take a flight to Mexico City or Guadalajara or wherever and say, okay, I'm here now, I want to stay. No, you got to go back home and complete your paperwork. So that's the process. I won't get into this more detail about than that, but we don't want to make this whole video about that process.
But the one other thing, though, is that there is a financial requirement, and
that's part of the paperwork is to provide documentation that proves that you are capable of supporting yourself financially, and that could include bank statements or investment account statements, money in your savings account, whatever you have to show. You have to document that you are liquid, that you're not liquid, but you are capable of supporting yourself.
Yeah, I just hate that we didn't think about this. I thought about it, but we had other things going on in the States. But if we had relocated 10 years ago, I don't know, we were talking to a friend who has been here, what, for about 18 years?
18 years.
So except there are some people that moved here 18, 20 years ago, and she found her a lovely condo or townhouse, 150 US per month. And she really has a great relationship with the landlords, and she is one of the lucky ones. She's still paying 150 US dollars per month for a beautiful little townhouse, single lady.
All the single ladies.
So, you
Yeah.
know,
We
had been looking at it, and you have been talking about maybe purchasing some land so that you could get land here for what, 10,000? Not
Yeah.
anymore.
The pricing that, when we talk about pricing, remember, we're talking about pricing here in the area we're in. Now, this location is very popular with both people from North America and the locals. So this Lake Chapala area is where the people that live in Guadalajara come on holiday weekends and so forth to get away from the city. They spend time around the lake. Some of them have boats on the lake, and they boat and so forth, just like they would on a lake in the U.S. So it's a premium location, which means premium pricing on rentals, hotels, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to less popular areas of Mexico and get much lower rates. So the pricing we're going to talk about is for this area, and this area is not your typical Mexican city or location. It has a premium because it's in high demand.
Right. So, in other words, he's saying you could go to some smaller towns that are less populated by immigrants, expats, if you will, and get some very reasonable prices. What we consider should be the norm. People should not have to, struggle the way they do in the States, just, working their fingers to the bone. And they're like living to work, really,
Yeah. And using all their retirement income.
It's getting outright ridiculous. And so what we feel is that these prices that we're showing you are really prices that should be the norm, particularly as people get older, so keep that in mind too. Consider that. And so we've talked about the medical, the medical community, the type of services, medical services. What I was thinking, I have so much going on in my head. I'm just trying to figure out, which things we can quickly, because it's already lengthy. But not to worry about the medical services here are excellent, superb, and the water is safe. Anything else that might be concerned? When we moved here, my husband said he didn't want car. He didn't want any cars, so we sold all of our cars, and we bike everywhere. And it's so much more convenient because there are a lot of cars on the road now because of the immigrants. And and so when we want to go, we get on our bike, we're on the bike trail, we're passing all of Susan has a scooter, and we pass all of that traffic, so we don't have to deal with that.
We're on electric bikes, just to let you know. She has an electric scooter, we have electric bikes.
Yeah, but some people here just have regular bikes. We chose electric.
The local government decided to build a bike path separate from the street, parallel, and it's separated by concrete blocks, so you don't have cars, coming into the bike lane, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so they have a dedicated 2-lane bike path that runs down the entire length of the lakeside communities from the first major town, which is Chapala, to the east, all the way to Jocotepec, which is the last major town on the north side of the lake. At the other end, so it's so we're covered as far as biking is concerned.
Yeah, and there's so much more, but we wanted to put these numbers up and like a couple of photos that you could see, like of the bike trail and just some of the beauty around, just to give you an idea of what we're, what is it, our present situation. And I think it hasn't changed since we've been here. We've been here since 2022. It's 2024. And if anything, we've been able to lower our cost by moving. We've moved a couple of times.
Yeah, once we got here, we're beginning to figure out how the pricing is structured, because it depends. Pricing always depends upon where you shop, and so now we're learning where to shop for certain things. We know that if we go to, for instance, Japala and do our produce shopping, we're going to pay lower prices than we pay in Ahai, which has a large expat community. Mm-hmm. And it's little things like that you learn over time, and so you can tailor your shopping, your routine, to actually take advantage of better pricing.
Mm-hmm. And keep in mind that's for us. And I'm not really going to compromise my lifestyle too much. I mean, I'm probably kind of prissy. I don't know, but so I wanted a lovely place. I wanted a lovely place decorated. But I'm telling you, there are some people that, they don't care about all that frou-frou stuff. They can get a beautiful, ornate house in Mexico, or a condo for little or nothing. And the young people really, they can really, really do well, because one of our neighbors, one of the guys that work at one of the restaurants, he pays $150 US dollars for his little apartment, which was across from our $1,000 a month apartment, with the pool and all that thing. So just to keep that in mind, you can find some lovely places to live here. There are beautiful people here. It's like living in paradise. And the main thing is you have peace. You live in peace and harmony. I guess the only downside is that we can still access the news, so we get to hear and see what's going on over there. And you want to monitor that as well, because it can depress you. So anyway, that's the end of this video. It's a little longer. Whenever we have these wonderful discussions, the videos are always a little bit longer. But just sharing information, we want you to know. And we want you to know from different perspectives. The young folks, the middle-aged folks, the seniors, the centurions. No, we're not 100 yet, but I'll bet you we'll live to be close to that. Somebody said, why? Why would you want to live to be, well,
if you can get around?
If you can change your attitude about life, then you'll always be in paradise, and life will always seem, like lovely to you, because that's what you emanate. You emulate that lovely. You emanate that lovely attitude, that like peaceful kind of persona, and that's what comes back to you. So, thank you for joining.
Be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe.
Don't be scared to say it. Subscribe to the channel. All right. Adios.
Bye. Adios.